I think a lot of time for artists or anyone who does anything creative, it's very hard to put what your art is out into the world, whether that's fear of judgment or you think it's not good enough and you know you can do better. Regardless of how you think about your art, it doesn't really matter because there's people who aren't as good as you putting out, worse art and, they're becoming successful in their field. And I'm really speaking to myself here. I really need to be uploading more on this YouTube channel, but it really comes down to really minor things that I'm only thinking about where I know I can do better on them and I just choose to not do it at all. I can complain all day that I just don't look good enough for the camera and the lighting is off and maybe it's just too loud in the house and so on and so forth, but it doesn't even really matter because I haven't put out enough art to even start thinking that way. And it's not a bad thing to think that way when it comes to your art. It is something that gets you up in the morning, you're passionate about, and you want to put your best foot forward, especially when you're presenting something that you spend a lot of time on. But I think the goal going forward for everyone watching this video, and myself included, is really just to put it out. And of course you can put all the details in and try to get it as perfect as possible. But if you're not even really outputting in the first place, then you really have no say in if it's good or not. Granted, this is way easier said than done. I am also a super bad victim on that. I remember growing up, I was always a super perfectionist and I would never show anybody my art, even like people really close to me. And it's taken a lot of growth and a lot of, reflection to recognize that I'm only the one that thinks of it this way. Other people can see something and be inspired by it and say, oh, that's really cool. And I think that's why I like fashion so much, because you're just wearing the art the entire time, so you don't really have to say anything. But with that said, the reach and the people I want to meet in this life, I have to put my art out, and that's really me getting in the way of myself. And if you take anything from this video, it's don't get in the way of your own dreams, because more often than not you probably are. We try to blame other people or different circumstances. The lighting's not right, the video's not right, it's the idea's not good enough, I need to perfect it. But it's really just you getting in the way of you. And that was me earlier before I made this video. It's like, I'll wait, I'll space it out. But it's like, no, I just need to put it out, I just need to do it. I need to show people where I am right now, without all this nitty-gritty-ness applied to it. When you actually do put out your art, you put out that video, you put out that new music video, you just feel so much better that you actually did it, instead of just holding on to it and maybe 3 years go by and you're like, okay, I'm gonna put it out now. And it's like, okay, you put it out finally, that's good, but it's been 3 years. And maybe you are creatively onto the next thing and you're putting out something that's 3 years old, and you're like, oh man, I wish I put it out earlier. I don't want that to be you, especially if you're younger. Even if you're older, the best next time to start is right now. I really see it as a form of self-care, because you're becoming the person who you want to be slowly by putting your art out for others to see. I did not mean for that to rhyme, but it is true, because the more you're kind of putting your art out, you're kind of like self-reaffirming that this is like the new life path that you want to take. But you can't get to that goal if you're not putting your art out. And of course, that looks different in modern times where, I can just record off my iPhone and put this video out, for potentially like millions of people to see. And it doesn't have to be this huge grandiose thing like you think it is. It's really just a couple things that you have to do that you're just not doing to get to that next step. Like what's really the consequence of putting this video out? Maybe I get a couple people who don't like the video. Well, there's gonna be an offset of people who like the video way more, so you're not really losing anything. You're really helping more people than you ever thought possible. And that's really something we shouldn't take for granted. And that's the idea of just putting your art out. And, we can just do that freely on the internet now. Don't die 30 years down the road wishing that you would have started that YouTube channel, would have started that fashion brand, or, that music career, or maybe you want to open up a coffee shop. And, that's really what gets you up in the morning. Don't die with those dreams in you, because if you don't do those dreams, somebody else will live them out. But if y'all did like this video, please let me know in the comments below if you have any other thoughts, and subscribe up. There's gonna be more in the future.